Hi everyone, I am Dr Nisha Vishnu, a radiation oncologist at Max Clinic and also a part of Fortis Hospital at VG Road. And I am also a part of an NGO that is dedicated to helping cancer patients called as Samrovana. And we at Samrovana are doing a patient education video series on breast cancer. So along with me is a team of doctors led by Dr. Sandeep Nayak, and we all fueled by our common mission to spread awareness about cancer. We'll be giving across a video. And our mantra is miracle lies in prevention and not cure, and early detection, if not prevention, is the key to successful treatment. To inaugurate our series, we have a wonderful and beautiful Mrs. Ruby Ahluwalia I A, and she wears a lot of hats, and I have to go for a really long introduction if I have to introduce her. So she is a bureaucrat, an author, a painter, a founder of Sanjeevani, Life Beyond Cancer. She is a principal financial advisor and chief officer of South Western Railways. And after her triumphant emergence from a stage 3 breast cancer, she has founded Sanjeevani Life Beyond Cancer, a not-for-profit organization which works towards rehabilitation of people affected with cancer and trained them to provide care and counseling to other patients and their families. Sanjeevani, with multiple counseling centers across the country, has rehabilitated and enriched the lives of many cancer patients, survivors and their families. And her superbly insightful book, Fragments of the Wild Soul, is a very mature take on her life and her battle with cancer. The book is highly recommended read for cancer patients and caregivers, as well as for doctors and in fact for everyone. And I was actually in love with her by the 8th or the 9th page of the book. And not everyone decides to come out with their story after an ordeal. And she is truly wild but exceedingly kind and inspiring, soul who has agreed to come. And it's a pleasure to have you here, ma'am. Congratulations for the recent award for the best NGO. And I have got a lot to ask you. Let me dive in right away. So, when were you diagnosed with breast cancer, and could you tell me a little bit about that?
Thank you so much, Nisha, for that beautiful introduction. And regarding my cancer, I was diagnosed in 2009. And this was a triple negative stage 3 breast cancer when I was diagnosed. I was in Bombay and I got treated at Tata Hospital here.
Okay. So, ma'am, usually when something drastic happens or hits on our life, we often start with the question, why me? Some of my patients ask me this question even after a successful completion of treatment, the sheer ordeal of going through all that. So I'm sure you would have asked at some point of time as to why me? How did you deal with that question, and what is your message to our patients who might be asking the same question?
Actually, my issue somehow was not exactly why me, because one has gone through a lot of adversities in life. Like anybody else, we all go through our own crisis. But my issue was, how come me? How come? And because like everyone else, I used to think that I'm doing everything right. I'm eating right, I'm exercising right. And, as far as breast cancer is concerned, the textbook causes which are there, none of them apply. Yeah. So how come me was my issue? Yeah.
I mean, we have patients who have never smoked, exercised, done it all the right way, and then still they develop cancer. And then I am out of words as to, why me, right?
Yeah, that's right. And regarding how I dealt with, since my question was that what has gone wrong, for me to get this. I immediately, after the initial response, which is there of shock or anger or anxiety, for me it was, I went total numb actually. And after that, I did understand that if I need to know as to why it happened to me, then I need to learn from this experience. I need to explore this experience. I need to understand it more to know as to why it had happened to me. And since in cancer, recurrence is a very big issue, so to work on reducing the chances of recurrence. So my whole focus actually shifted towards making it more of a learning experience for myself.
Tell me more about your treatment journey. Was it frustrating at times? In fact, I know from your book, but I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. Was it frustrating?
Especially initially, it was confusing. It was frustrating. And why? Because in most of the diseases, once the treatment starts, you start getting comfort. But in cancer, when the treatment starts, things really go haywire for you.
Yes.
And at times you think, was it a good idea for me to get into this treatment? Did I really sign up for this? So yeah, to that extent, it was confusing initially, but later the whole journey became as to how do I make this treatment work for me, so that I come out of it as soon as I can. Because I had understood that if I mentally keep fighting with the treatment that is happening, then I will not be able to take the whole benefit of the treatment. So if the medicine has to come into me, get absorbed into my system and work in my favor, then I have to receive the medicine with that kind of attitude.
And another thing is, we doctors see day in and day out that along with the patient, the family also goes through a very tough time. And how did your family make it through? I mean, I know you are a mother of two wonderful kids, and your husband, I've seen several mentioned in the book. So how did they take it?
So my children were initially totally broken, and they probably were not able to understand how to deal with this situation which had come. So what happens as a mother, you cannot be in the victim kind of a role. You have to immediately get into the provider's role again. You have to kind of, collect yourself, and you have to again get into the provider's mode. Because what I noticed in my case also, that if I remain in the victim's mode and if I remain in the patient's mode, then apart from my health, which at that time at least, I felt was slipping away from me, the family, my children may slip away as well. And that was not an option for me at all. That is not what I wanted for myself. So after the first reaction which was there, the next reaction was, how do I get around the whole thing so that my children feel comfortable and they feel that yes, it is a disease which has come, which can be fought and which will go on.
How much of the diagnosis, treatment methods, side effects, and probable outcomes do a patient want to hear? I understand it varies widely, but having been on the other side of the table, do you think the doctors should discuss it all, probably softly, but we should tell it all? What is your take on that, ma'am?
My opinion, the doctor's role, apart from the medical intervention which they are trained to do, has to be of someone who is motivating the patient. because when I have now been running Sanjeevani Life Beyond Cancer for very long. We have worked with more than 3 lakh patients, and what I understand is the day the patient gets to know from the doctor that you have 3 months, you have 4 months, you have a chance of recurrence, that is the day their world shatters actually, and then they are not able to pick themselves again from there. So of course the diagnosis needs to be shared softly. Side effects are so different in every patient then that I think that they should be discussed only when they come. So probably crossing the bridge when it comes. And regarding the prognosis, which I see these days doctors are discussing a lot with the patients, I think it works to the contrary most of the time.
Maybe I need to change my approach as well, because being in the corporate setup and the kind of patients that we get, at least if I talk about myself, they are very well educated and they want to know everything, and once they know, they're kind of let down, and that kind of pains me.
So, there is nothing in this world, forget about cancer, which cannot be overcome. That is another thing. So the prognosis is not definite. So even if we can add that 5% just by kind of keeping them positively motivated, I think.
Yes. So most of my patients, especially the female ones, wouldn't want to share their story in the social media, and probably there is some stigma in the word cancer, that is running around still in our society. So you have always been vocal about your journey, and do you think it is important for more and more survivors to come out with their story as well as a part of increasing awareness or whatever, so what is your take on that?
I think it is very important. I think it is very, very important for people who make it and who make it well to come out and share their stories, because they become such a motivating factor for the patients, and there is so much of learning which is hidden in each experience actually. So I think when people come out with their stories, it gives the patient the comfort that it is possible for them to win this battle as well. And as I was saying, there are very small learnings which are there, how to do things right, and which really go a long way.
Ma'am, you are the founder of Sanjeevani, and we are also into an NGO called Samrohana. And how do you think such organizations can help in changing the landscape of cancer management in our country?
Nisha, as you know, that cancer is one disease which opens a lot of fronts in front of a patient. And medical care is just one of those fronts. So hospitals are doing a great job, doctors are doing a great job, but it is a very small part. It is the mandatory but a very small part in cancer care. And if I have said that it is a very small part, then where will the rest of the care, the rest of the part will come from? Where will it come from? So the family itself feels very pushed when this happens. Patient is herself or himself not in a very good state to be able to look for resources and use them to his advantage. So it is organizations like Sanjeevani and Samaro, as you spoke about, which have a very rich experience of having worked with the patients, and they have the right resources, they have the experts working with them. So everything can be made available to the patient immediately. A patient is supported with this whole psychosocial care, apart from the medical care. I think that is what is the deciding factor.
When and why did you decide to write a book?
I went through my treatment in 2009 and I got back to my feet in 2012. And I started writing the book in 2018. The reason was that I was not planning to write. I had seen myself as a patient and I see a lot of other patients through Sanjeev. The other thing was also that when I was declared as cured and when my doctor told me that you are cancer free, I had asked him, yes, I'm cancer free, but what medicine do I need to take now so that I do not have a relapse? And he said that there is no medicine for that. So that day I understood that becoming cancer free is one thing and remaining cancer free is another. So I need to explore how can one remain cancer free. And I have also started understanding, Nisha, that a lot of people around me these days live in this whole emotion of anxiety. The emotion which is ruling our lives today is the anxiety. And from anxiety comes anger and jealousy and sadness and loneliness and all these things, yeah? On top of that, everybody is aiming very big, aiming very high. Women want to be super moms, super wives, super professionals, and in this whole process, they are becoming under average themselves. And just by becoming this under average themselves, they are hitting their immunity big time. And immunity has a huge role to play in this whole game of cancer. So we all have created our cancers in some way or the other, even if they have not become tumors as yet. So how to recognize these self-created pits, to understand what cost will we have to pay for these pits that we have created, and how we can come out of these pits. Was the purpose of writing the book and taking people through my personal experience so that, they can really appreciate the whole paradigm better. So that was the reason for me to write the book. And the best part is that apart from the adults, the book became so popular with youngsters, and they started seeing the book as a thing, how to convert your adversities into opportunities.
See, that's what I have also been telling you, right? The first time I wrote about you in my LinkedIn page, I have written that it is a message for everybody probably. It's not a cancer book. And having said that, there is no section. I mean, cancer patients or the cancer caregivers or the doctors are not isolated or put in a watertight compartment in a society. We are a part and parcel of that society, and probably your book carries a message for everybody for that matter. And if children are reading your book, awesome. I might suggest that to my son as well.
God's grace. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, a full-time job, exploring new places, swimming on and off, and painting, writing book, running an NGO. How do you do it all? Is your day, does it consist 48 hours? I mean, how do you do it?
Yeah, so definitely time management is is a key factor, but I think what is very important is that everything that I am trying to do, I enjoy it so much that one activity gives me energy for the next one. I enjoy working with Sanjeevni so much, and I'm very creative as a person, which most people are, I'm sure. Just that I take out a little time, but it gives me so much. Just by giving a little time, I get so much of energy that I can perform better, at other things. I think that is what works for me.
This attitude towards life, was it pre your diagnosis or post your treatment? Is this a new insight that you developed? Just be in the situation, emerge, just completely immerse yourself in the situation and happy about it. Basically mindfulness. So was it there before, or that's something you developed after treatment?
That we need to work towards mindfulness, and we need to work towards becoming as aware as possible, has been there for quite some time. But after this experience, the whole intensity of this perspective in my life has gone to another level altogether, which I had through this experience. And remaining aware while going through this experience was that I am the most important thing in my life. Yeah, otherwise, the way we are brought up, the way we are conditioned, is the more importance you give to others, the bigger you become. That is the kind of conditioning. But I learned from my experience that first it has to be me, and attending to your own self is not being self-centered. It is centering on the self, which is important.
Very true, very true, very true. Yeah, can't agree more. Yeah. And ma'am, last, of course, it's not the least of the questions, but any messages for those fighting with cancer?
I think when one is diagnosed with cancer, or when one comes across any crisis in life, the first thing which needs to be understood is that this is something which has come into your life and will go away. Everything at the end of the day is temporary. That is one thing. The other is that every crisis has to be dealt with as a project. It has to be dealt with as a project, and it has to be dealt with this attitude that this project has to be, I have to succeed in this project. I have to win this battle. And these days, when there is so much of medical advancement which has happened, there are such great doctors in our country and other countries, there are such good hospitals. Winning this battle is a sure shot. It is only how much of effort you decide to put in. And it is a question of my life when it is cancer. So I want to put in everything that I can. It is not very easy, definitely. It's not an easy project. It is a difficult project. But then once you come out of a disaster or a crisis like this, you operate in this life at a much higher level than what you were operating at. So you have to win this battle. You have to win this battle for yourself, to understand the reason for your existence on this planet, and of course for your loved ones and your dear ones.
That's beautifully put. Beautifully put. And I think that's all for today. That's all I have, ma'am. I wish we could just, go on talking. It's been really wonderful, ma'am. Really wonderful to have you here. And thanks a lot for agreeing for this interview. And I hope we can meet in person really soon and have.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it as well. Thank you so much.